Today's lesson is called Taking Charge of Your Credit Card. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff.
My name is Roger, and today we're going to continue talking about taking charge of credit cards, okay? Don't let them rule your life. Don't let them control you. Be responsible, and don't accumulate those extra fees. I think that's what the credit card companies want you to do so that they can make some more money, but you don't want that. You don't want to pay any more than you have to, so be responsible and make those payments every month in full.
There you go. Be responsible with your credit cards or they can lead to financial ruin. Remember my story from last time. I had a debt, I think, to Chase Bank in the United States for something like $200. And I thought, you know what? I'll just pay the minimum amount because I was a student at the time with not a lot of money. And I thought, okay, I'll pay the minimum amount, and then that won't be that big a deal. And then I forgot to pay for a couple of months. That turned out to be a really big deal. I had late fees, fees for not paying. They tacked on APR. Oh, my goodness, that $200 debt swelled to $647 over the course of 2 or 3 months. And I took a summer job. And the paycheck from that job, every Friday, I would get that paycheck. I would walk down to the bank, deposit it, and pay down that debt. It took the entire summer, but I got out of debt, I should say, and I learned a very valuable lesson on how credit cards can really be bad. Anyways, now, there are bad things about credit cards, but there are good things, too, about them. So let's go ahead and start reading about those good things. Not the drawbacks, but the good things, the benefits that credit cards can bring to you.
Aside from offering convenience, a credit card can help you raise your credit score. Should you ever decide to take out a bank loan to buy a house, start a business, or make other large investments, a good credit score will increase your chance of getting approved for that loan. Your credit score is essentially a prediction of your likelihood to pay back debt, and it's partly determined by reports of your monthly credit card activity. The reports indicate whether you've made your payments on time and how much of your credit limit you've used. To protect your credit rating, avoid late payments, and ideally keep your credit card balance under 30% of your available credit.
各位好，第一部分我们看到单字 loan。这个字是名词，指贷款、借贷。例如 Henry plans to get a loan so he can buy a house for his new family. Henry 打算贷款为他的新家庭买个房子。另外，这个字也可以当动词，指借出、贷款。我们可以说 Ralph loaned his friend some money to help him pay his rent. Ralph 借他朋友一些钱帮助他缴房租。再补充2个相关片语。第一 on loan 表示出借。像是 Artifacts from the British Museum's Egyptian collection had been on loan to the National Palace Museum in Taiwan before. 大英博物馆中埃及收藏品的文物曾经出借给台湾的故宫博物院。第二 loan shark 表示放高利贷。举例来说 The loan shark targeted older people who could be fooled easily. 那个放高利贷的人锁定容易被骗的老人为目标。接下来我们看到副词Essentially 指基本上、本质上、根本上。例如 All of that director's movies have essentially the same cast. 那位导演的所有电影基本上都是相同的演员阵容。另外，这个字去掉字尾 ly 就成了形容词 essential， 指不可或缺的、必要的，像是 play an essential role in something 就表示在点点点中扮演重要的角色。我们可以说Calcium plays an essential role in the maintenance of healthy bones. 钙质在维持健康骨骼中扮演重要的角色。接下来我们看到单字 prediction， 这个字是名词，指预测、预言。例如 My prediction is that the snow on top of the mountain will melt sometime in June. 我预测山顶上的雪大约会在6月的时候融化。另外，这个字去掉字尾 ion， 就成了动词 predict， 指预料、预计。举例来说 Nobody could predict that the housing market would fall. 没有人能预料到房市会下跌。再补充一个相关名词 predictor, P-R-E-D-I-C-T-O-R, predictor, 指预测工具，像是 High blood pressure is often a predictor of heart disease. 高血压通常可以预示心脏病。接着我们看到名词 likelihood, 指可能性，可能。例如 The likelihood of finding pieces of gold in the river is very small. 要在此河中找到黄金的可能性极其微小。另外补充一个相关片语 in all likelihood 表示十之八九，极有可能。我们可以说 In all likelihood, the company will sign the contract within the next 2 weeks. 十之八九，这间公司会在接下来的2周内签约。
Okay, like we said last time, it seems that credit cards are nothing but trouble, but it's still a good idea to have one, and don't let it control your life because, hey, it can help you build up your credit score or your credit rating, as we find out in the first sentence here. So it says, aside from offering convenience, a credit card can help you raise your credit score. So yes, in addition to, here's this pattern here, aside from, but it can also do something else, okay? So yes, in addition to offering you convenience, it can help you with your credit score as well. So if you're talking about convenience, that's when things are convenient. Convenient is the adjective, which can be kind of confusing if you're talking about Family Mart or 7-Eleven or High Life or whatever. A lot of people will say, oh, that's a convenient store because, hey, it's a store that is convenient. But we don't use that word, actually. We use the word convenience.
Yeah, the way I like to remember it is like so. Family Mart, okay. 7-Eleven, High Life. These are convenience stores. But let's say you've got a 7-Eleven downstairs. It's in your building complex. You can go there any time of night. It's only a few steps away. Well, you could call that a convenient store for you or a convenience store. But yes, aside from offering convenience, back on the subject of credit cards, a credit card can help you raise your credit score. Now, if you are in the United States, usually they have something called a FICO score, okay? And if you have a high FICO score, people think, hey, this person is probably likely to pay off their debts, so they're more willing to give you loans. Banks are more willing to give you loans for homes and cars and stuff like that. So, not having a credit card, you can't get in trouble financially, but at the same time, you won't be able to get a credit card score either, or at least a credit score, I should say, and that's not necessarily a good thing.
Okay, so why is that? Well, should you ever decide to take out a bank loan to buy a house? Here, should, you could say if you ever decide, or should you ever decide to take out a loan from a bank in order to buy a house or a car or to start a business or whatever, or if you want to make other large investments, well, a good credit score will increase your chance of getting approved for that loan. So yeah, if you have this credit score or this credit history, or this credit rating, and you go into the bank and say, hey, I'd like to borrow 100,000 NT dollars to invest in a new stock. Somebody told me the stock is going to make some money in the future. It probably will. So yes, I'd like to make a large investment. Or I'd like to buy a luxury apartment on Yangmingshan, for example. I need to borrow like 12 million NT dollars or something like that. So indeed, if you have a good credit score, then the bank will say, hey, you've used your credit card responsibly in the past. You're a good person. You're responsible. You're reliable. We're going to lend you that 12 million NT dollars.
Well, it's not quite that simple, okay? If you happen to have a high FICO score, okay, or a high credit score, congratulations. But if you want to buy a $12 million house in Yangmingshan, They're going to need to know that you have, one, a lot of money, and two, a job that pays a lot of money. You can't be a loser with a high credit score and somehow get a loan like that. By the way, when a bank loans you money, they give you that money, but you have to pay it back with interest. So that's how banks make money. You get into debt with them, and you pay them back more than they gave you in the first place. By the way, we also have this word investment to talk about. An investment, as far as money is concerned, is money that you put into something else to make more money. Investment is the noun. Invest is the verb.
Yep, you can make all sorts of investments, like real estate is a good investment, or gold is a good investment, etc., etc. And here it says your credit score is essentially a prediction of your likelihood to pay back debt. And it's partly determined by reports of your monthly credit card activity. So yeah, you've got to have that credit score because it's a prediction. It's not a guarantee that you're going to pay back the loan, but it gives the loan officer or it gives the bank a good idea of your ability to pay back the loan. So yeah, a prediction is when you basically guess what's going to happen in the future. People make predictions every year at New Year, for example, and here we've got the word essentially. That just means basically.
Basically, okay, when we're talking about the essence of something, we're talking about something at the core of something that makes that thing that thing. So your credit score, what is it at the foundational level? It's just a number that helps a bank predict how likely you are to pay back debt. And likelihood, that comes from the word likely. If something is likely, it'll probably happen. The likelihood that something that will happen is how likely that thing is to occur, the probability that will occur, the chances that that will occur. And if you have a high credit score, chances are you'll pay back your debt, so banks are going to like you. And yes, more on these reports. The reports indicate whether you've made your payments on time and how much of your credit limit you've used. Yes, pay your credit card on time. Again, I learned this the hard way. If you don't, you will get dinged.
So to protect your credit rating or your credit score, avoid late payments. Yes, pay on time. And ideally, keep your credit card balance under 30% of your available credit. So if they give you an allowance of, say, 100,000 NT dollars per month, well, try not to spend more than 30,000 or 35,000 NT dollars, something like that.
There you go. All right, folks. With that, it's time for us to take a short break. But when we come back, we'll be wrapping up our lesson.
Young people typically have no credit history, so they may have trouble getting approved for their first credit cards. You can improve your chances by establishing a good working relationship with a bank first. Open a savings account and maintain a consistent balance. If you live in a country whose banks offer secured credit cards, you could apply for one and use the amount in your savings account as your credit limit. Armed with your new card and knowledge of how it works, you can continue on your path to building good credit.
第二部分，我们看到单字 consistent 这个字是形容词，指始终如一的、一致、一贯的。例如 The restaurant always delivers consistent quality. 该餐厅的菜色总是维持固定的品质。最后，我们看到片语 be armed with something 表示准备好点点点，具备有点点点。像是 The lawyer was armed with evidence that the man had committed the crime. 律师持有那名男子犯罪的证据。
Okay, here's the second part of our lesson. Of course, when you're young and you've just graduated from college or high school and you're ready to enter the job market, well, typically as a young person, you're not going to have any credit history. So young people may have trouble getting approved for their first credit cards. I remember when I graduated from university, I did not have a major credit card yet, but I was issued credit cards from some various gasoline companies or petroleum companies in the U.S. I think I had a Mobil credit card and a Phillips 66 credit card. And by using those cards and paying the bills back, I was able to build up a credit score and then later get a major credit card.
Sounds like a pretty good way to get a major credit card. You build things up slowly. That is smart. Now, will that first credit card have a credit limit of $1 million US? Not a chance. It'll be more like $200 or something like that. But if you prove that you're credit worthy, that limit will go up and up and up. So, what should you do to have this good relationship with this bank? First, open a savings account and maintain a consistent balance, okay? That balance should stay the same. It shouldn't grow all the time and then fall all the time and go back and forth. That kind of makes you seem a little bit nutty and crazy. So be consistent.
Yeah, don't put a lot of money in and take a lot of money out. Just be conservative there and have the balance be consistent. The balance, of course, is how much money you have in there. And, of course, we like people when they're consistent, when they don't change a lot. And if you live in a country whose banks offer secured credit cards, you could apply for one and use the amount in your savings account as your credit limit. So some countries have banks that offer something called secured credit cards. I guess that means that if you have enough money in that bank, they can trust you, and then they will offer you a credit card that is guaranteed, that is secured, and then you can use that to help build your credit score again.
How about that? Now, armed with your new card and knowledge of how it works, you can continue on your path to building good credit. And yes, I will say it once again, never miss a payment, okay? Not only will the APR start to accrue on anything you rolled over, if you do miss a payment, sometimes they have something called a penalty APR, where your APR might go from 15% to 29% or something like that. So things can get out of hand quite quickly. Be careful. Make your payments. Pay in full. Make those payments on time, okay? Those are my pieces of advice for you, and also the advice offered in this particular article. I believe everything in this article is sage, and it's something that you should probably pay attention to. This article is. Anyways, folks, with that, we are all done here, but don't worry, don't fret. The Chinese teacher is waiting in the wings.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。信用卡除了很方便，它还可以帮你提升信用评分。课文第一部分有一句就提到，基本上你的信用评分是用来预测你偿还债务的可能性，而文中是用 likelihood 来表达可能性。我们就来学习这个字尾 HOOD 的不同意思。好，首先 HOOD hood 这个部分是名词字尾，它可以表达时期，什么什么时期，像 childhood 孩子的时期，那就表示童年咯。 adulthood成年人的时期，那就表示成年期。另外 hood 这个字尾还可以表达状态、情况或是性质，像文中的 likelihood 就是由 likely 表示可能的，然后把 y 改成 I 再加上 hood 去表达状态，所以 likelihood 就是表达可能或是可能性。还有像 falsehood 它是由 false 表示假的、谬误的 不真实的，然后加上 hood 表示情形，合在一起 falsehood 就表示虚假、谬误或是谎言。至于你可能也有看过 brotherhood、sisterhood 这些字，它们当中的 hood 表示具有相同属性、拥有共同情况的个体们。那么 brotherhood 就是表达兄弟关系啊、手足之情或是兄弟会。那么 sisterhood 就是表达姐妹情谊啊、姐妹会、妇女会等等。好，我们读到课文第二部分的第一句，他说Young people typically have no credit history, so they may have trouble getting approved for their first credit cards. 文中是用到 have trouble 加上动词 ing 来表达做某事有困难。Have trouble getting approved 表示不容易获得核准，要获得核准有困难。那我们就来学习相关用法。Have trouble 或者是 have a hard time 或者是 have difficulty或者是 have problems， 这些用语后面都可以接动词 ing， 或者是接 with 加名词来表达难以怎么样怎么样，或是做某事有困难。只是要特别注意 trouble 和 difficulty 是不可数名词，它们在这用法中是固定用单数型哦。我们来造两个例句。Jenny is having difficulty with her homework. Jenny 在写作业时遇到困难。If you have trouble falling asleep, try turning off all your electronic devices an hour before bed. 如果你难以入眠，试着在睡前1小时关掉所有的电子装置。好，那相反的，我们可以用 have no problems,have no trouble, have no difficulty doing something 来表达做某事没有困难、没有问题。或是你也可以用 have an easy time doing something 来表达做某事很容易。举例来说 We had no problems finding a parking space. 我们不费吹灰之力，轻轻松松就找到停车位了。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Convenience.The convenience of online shopping leads many people to spend more on their credit cards. Loan. Fred and Nancy asked their parents for a loan so that they could buy their first house. Investment. If you want to retire early, you should make good investments when you are young. Essentially. The public transport system in town has remained essentially unchanged for the past 50 years. Likelihood.According to the Weather Channel, there is a strong likelihood that it will rain tomorrow. Consistent. As a result of her hard work, Stephanie has seen a consistent increase in her grades.
Discussion Starter starts now!
All right, folks, it's time for our discussion starter. Hey, Roger. Do you think it's a good idea for young people to own credit cards? Why or why not?
Well, I don't think it's a good idea for young people to own credit cards. First, because there are too many tempting offers on their smartphones, and young people these days are addicted to their smartphones, and I think it's just too easy for them to press the yes button and they'll buy something that they don't need and they'll go into debt, and guess who has to pay it for them? Their daddy. So yeah, don't get your credit cards until you're over 30. That's my advice. How about you?
No, I think young people should definitely own credit cards with very low credit limits, because sometimes the only way you learn, okay, is by making mistakes. I will always, for the rest of my life, pay my credit card on time and also pay the full balance because of what happened to me in college. If I had just followed these tips, I wouldn't have gone into debt like that. So young people like me, maybe they should go through something like this, because once something like this happens to you, you'll never make the same mistakes ever again. Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you guys enjoyed reading and learning along with us. I am Jeff.
I am Roger.
See you next time.